Imagine Sakazuki, the man who can turn an entire island into a volcanic wasteland, mopping floors. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet every Marine starts at the very bottom, taking orders, doing the dirty work, and climbing the ranks one promotion at a time. That's the Marines, the military arm of the world government, and one of the most detailed chains of command in all of anime and manga world. Today we're climbing that ladder from the very bottom rung all the way up to the top. There are 11 official commissioned ranks in the Marines, plus a few special titles that sit outside the normal ladder entirely. And above the Marines themselves sits the wider world government. The Commander-in-Chief, currently Kong. Unlike the Fleet Admiral, Kong doesn't command only the Marines. He oversees every major military branch under the world government, including the Marines, Cypher Pol, and other government forces. Despite holding one of the highest positions of authority in the world, almost nothing is known about his true strength or what he's capable of in combat. And above him, the 5 elders. Keep that in mind as we work our way up. And while you're here, get yourself promoted from viewer recruit to subscriber first class by hitting that subscribe button. Trust me, the promotion is completely free. Seaman recruit and the enlisted ranks. We start at the very bottom. Every single Marine begins here, running errands and doing chores for anyone above them. After proving themselves as recruits, Marines are promoted to Seaman Apprentice. At this stage, they're trusted with more responsibilities and begin gaining real experience in the field. The next step is Seaman First Class, where Marines are considered fully trained enlisted soldiers. Above Seaman recruits sit the other enlisted ranks, Petty Officers and Chief Petty Officers, the crews who actually staff the ships and bases day to day. Interestingly, a couple of named characters, Django and Full Body, technically still hold this lowest rank despite dressing and acting like they outrank half the base. It's a running joke in the series, rank on paper doesn't always match how a character carries themselves. Ensign. Climbing up, we hit the bottom of the officer class. This is the lowest of the 11 official commissioned officer ranks. Everyone from here up through Fleet Admiral is technically a commissioned officer. Lieutenant junior grade. Just above ensign are the ranks of lieutenant junior grade and lieutenant. These junior officers have earned enough authority to command enlisted Marines, lead small units into battle, and take charge of day-to-day operations on Marine bases and warships. While they hold significant responsibility compared to lower-ranking officers, they still operate under the command of higher-ranking officials, serving as an important bridge between enlisted personnel and senior leadership. Lieutenant Commander. Next up, we have Lieutenant Commander, sometimes translated as Major. Characters like Django and Helmeppo have held this rank. It's a solid mid-career post, usually tied to a specific base or a smaller squad rather than fleet-level command. Above that sits Commander, who oversees smaller operational units below the captains. Oda hasn't spent much time detailing exact day-to-day duties at this level. It's one of those workhorse ranks that keeps the Marines running without getting the spotlight. One confirmed Marine commander is Ripper, the officer who stood up to Axe Hand, Morgan's tyranny in Shellstown. His actions helped expose Morgan's abuse of power and restore justice to the base. Captain. Now we're into ranks most fans actually recognise. Captains typically command an entire Marine base on a given island. Smoker held this rank for most of the early series before his promotion. Hina was also a captain before climbing up the ranks. And after the Summit War, Kobe was promoted all the way to captain, a jump that shocked the entire Marine ranks. Commodore. Above captain sits Commodore. Commodores command anyone beneath them and handle matters too heavy for a captain to deal with alone. Commodores stationed at headquarters can carry outsized responsibility. Brand new, for example, is the Commodore in charge of assigning bounties, and he reports straight to the Fleet Admiral despite being several ranks below him. Rear Admiral. Now we're entering Admiral class territory. Rear Admiral is the lowest of that tier. Full command over any lower ranking Marine, but the least authority among the admirals themselves. Some rear admirals, stationed directly at headquarters, like Hina, get handed responsibilities well above their pay grade simply because of reputation. This is also the minimum rank required for a Marine to be allowed to stand in the presence of the 5 elders. Vice Admiral, the rank with the widest range of personalities in the entire Marines. Vice Admirals are the ones who actually crew the ships during a buster call. You need at least 5 of them per fleet. This tier includes some of the most iconic Marines in the story. Monkey D. Garp, who turned down the admiral seat multiple times just to stay active in the field. Tsuru, one of the oldest and shrewdest marines alive. And Smoker, whose Logia smoke powers make him one of the toughest field commanders in the New World. Admiral. Admirals are what the world government calls its greatest military powers. There are normally 3 and each one can authorise a buster call on their own authority and strong enough to go toe to toe with a Yonko. Right now, the active admirals are Kizaru, the only one of the original Marineford trio still active at this rank, Fujitora, a blind swordsman who fights using gravity manipulation, Ryokugyu, the newest addition, brought in to fill the vacancy left after a previous admiral's departure. That previous admiral was Kuzan, after losing his duel with Sakazuki for the position of fleet admiral. He resigned from the Marines and chose to follow his own path. Today, his true motives remain one of the biggest mysteries in One Piece. So, admirals don't command a fixed fleet, they get deployed wherever the world government needs its heaviest hitter, Fleet Admiral, and at the very top of the entire ladder, Fleet Admiral, the single highest ranking marine on the seas, commander of the whole organisation's military operations. The Fleet Admiral can call a buster call on any island considered a threat and can strip a warlord of their title outright. The current holder is Sakazuki, better known by his alias Akainu. He earned the seat the hard way. A 10-day duel against fellow Admiral Kuzan, fought entirely with their devil fruit powers, that permanently split the island of Punk Hazard into a frozen half and a scorched half. Akainu won, Kuzan walked away from the Marines for good, and Akainu's ideology of absolute justice now shapes the entire organisation. Before him, the seat belonged to Sengoku, who led the Marines through the Summit War at Marineford before retiring. The special titles, outside the ladder. A few titles exist outside the normal ladder entirely. Instructor is typically handed to a highly respected Marine stepping back from active duty to train the next generation. Garp took this role while mentoring Kobe and Helmeppo. An Inspector General is an advisory position currently held by the retired Fleet Admiral Sengoku himself, proof that even after stepping down, the strongest Marines never fully leave the organisation. So that's the ladder, from a recruit who can barely level a mop bucket all the way up to a Fleet Admiral who can level an island. Every rank has its own authority, its own famous face, and its own place in keeping the world government's justice, however you feel about that justice, running across every sea. If you want the world government's civilian side explained next, the 5 Elders, Cypher Pol, and the Celestial Dragons, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.